All right, Parthivo, very good evening to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. Thank you for asking. And how are you doing, sir?
Well, good. Thank you, Parthivo. And thank you for coming in for this short discussion on your interview experience with multiple companies. And also, I'm going to seek some learning strategies that you used to successfully transition your career from a non-data background to a data background with a very good company, Axtria. So, just for everybody's understanding, Parthivo successfully transitioned from a non-coding background to Axtria data profile. And also, Parthivo, I understand that you got not just one offer, but you got a couple of offers. You also got an offer from PwC as well. But I think you finally selected Axtria.
Exactly.
I remember some WhatsApp discussions with you as well on asking for some referrals and all of that. Yeah, so very good. So, Parthivo, I wanted to understand from you specifically that how was your interview experience? Our students, the current students, definitely like to learn from the interview experience that you might have had. So, if you can enlighten us on your interview experience with Extria.
Definitely. And first of all, thank you for giving this such an opportunity and glad to be a part of Ivy as well as the program which have given me lots of exposure. So starting with the interview experience, it has been as we start, there will be lots of rounds. First, before the interview, we will be given some written and all round, which will definitely showcase our skills on a technical grounds. But on the interview is something which is really different. One thing which we need to be very much enlightened is we should have confidence on what we have done as of now. For which, like for example, if I talk about the data analyst program, we need to have the core skills of the hard skills, if we say, like having SQL, Python. These are some of the two tools which I feel probably most of the companies are really looking for. And then when they go into the interview, when we are approached in the interview, what I felt is that instead of keeping CV quite too much diverse, they specifically focus on our projects or the case studies which we have performed. Because in many of the CVs, we can find like many people will write they have done SQL, they might have done Python, R. But once a student does a case study or a project, this indeed shows that the student has done something. Like when the
So, you're
student
saying
will,
that instead of just mentioning the hard
yeah,
skills, just like in a table, give
exactly.
focus to your case studies and the projects that, or the problem statements that you might have solved. And I remember
Yes,
seeing the resume. I think just after your education, you had given all the projects that you had done
right.
specifically categorized into
Yes,
different segments and so forth. Yes, very good suggestion.
exactly. Because hard skills, as I said, that it many will mention the hard skills a lot numbers, but when you really show it out by using some problem statements or case studies, they definitely enlighten you. Also, the interviewer becomes optimistic about the fact, like when they will see, okay, these guys have done this kind of projects. Now let me go into the project and see what he have done. So then there should be basic kind of things like what tools you have used, what different parameters you have done, what is your accuracy assessment. These are the few things. And this also gives them a background or a base to ask the questions on. Like in many of the cases where there weren't any case studies, the questions become unlimited. So here the interviewer can ask from here and there can be a wide range of questions which we might not be familiar of. But when we have something like problem statement or a case study, these questions become little bit confined to which we can be kind of like acquainted and we can be familiar with. So
Okay,
it
so
is a good.
I think what you're saying is that when you have a project or a case study mentioned in a resume, then the boundaries are defined for the questions to be asked, and
Yes.
the interviewer would be restricted. Typically, I mean, it's human tendency. Typically, ask you about that particular project, what kind of problems you solved, what techniques you used, maybe what
Exactly.
surgical models you used, and what kind of results you got in that particular project, instead of being very broad about it.
Very broad. And being in the broad sense, many faces some kind of questions which are not relatable or which we are not aware of, which becomes again a disadvantage. Also, the interview definitely won't want to ask anything out of too much. He would definitely would like to see what we know and challenge or probably calculate on this basis. So basically, this forms a very important part segment along with it.
Let me ask
And
you this, Parthivo. Um, you've spoken about interview experience in general. You were part of our special batch called as Income Sharing Agreement or ISA batch, where I think you pay once you get a job. But as part of that income sharing agreement batch, you were given a lot of classes on resume preparation and also on building your profile, like case study profiles or project profiles on LinkedIn and otherwise on resumes as well. What was the role? I mean, what kind of, what do you think that helped you in building a resume that actually gave you some interview calls?
definitely, sir, definitely, because these are few of the basic things which seems to be very like basic, but these are the only important essentials. For example, sir, having an CV building session with you, we most of the students weren't ever like how we should keep our things in an order, to order it out in a manner and all these kind of things. So then highlighting the key skills, which needs to be the one of the important points which were also taught in the CV building classes. So these are few of the things which are really important, key important.
Okay,
Also
so
like LinkedIn profile making.
yeah, please.
So is a LinkedIn profile making. Like again, LinkedIn is one of the important site which a student should really build on, because nowadays, be it campus or off campus, you should have a good CV LinkedIn profile which attracts, like kind of marketing ourselves and which attracts a lot of players or many companies to us. So also having this LinkedIn profile built very great, we can attract and also showcase our skills at the same time, like GitHub profile, LinkedIn profile, these kind of things. Like we need to really work on it because this showcases us.
Very good. So I remember if I remember your resume correctly, uh, I think I told you that in the first page itself, just after education, bring the projects and bring
Yeah,
the data science oriented projects. I think you've done some internship and all of that as well. But I said, since data science projects are more relevant than your other work, so bring that upfront.
right.
That is also very, very important aspect that we suggest, and I see that you implemented that in your resume as well.
Definitely.
Wanted to understand what are the different rounds did you have with Axtria?
Sir, first we had a written round, written technical round, which comprised of 75 questions to be done in 1 hour. And then after that, we had two technical, means one technical round and one HR round. This was
So
kept in.
in the written round, you said 75 questions.
Yeah.
What were the sections which were there? Categories
There
of
were two sections completely. One was cognitive ability, which comprised of aptitude, logical reasoning, and some part of English. And the second was a technical round, which comprised mostly of SQL, Excel, and Python. These three were the tools which if I am not wrong, correctly remember, these were the three tools which the company focused on in
Do you
the.
remember any of the questions at all? Like
In SQL, in SQL, they asked about a join question, like they gave us a table and then they gave a desired output. So they asked like which should be the join which you would like to ask. In
okay,
Excel, there was one question. Probably I've done mistake. I don't know. There was one shortcut key, control shift and something was shortcut key. What would be the output for these kind of things?
okay.
So these were the questions which
And
were,
Python?
and in Python, sir, about the data types which were asked. But luckily, most of the things like SQL, which we have been taught, like most were everything were on our from our which were taught in IV. Most of the questions were completely easy, which easy findings. So this is one important reason why I could crack the written interview. Like in 75 questions in 60 minutes, it's not something easy which one can do completely.
Oh,
We need
60
to,
minutes.
yeah, in 60 minutes. So in technical round was one round, like you need to see the question and complete the answer within like seconds so that you can give more time in the aptitude part. So this was one important fact which I found really helpful, that I have taught in such a manner that I could optimize my time in this written section in the technical initially.
The second round was?
Then second round was technical interview round.
Okay. And
So
what happened in that?
so in technical interview run, as I mentioned, first of all, the interviewer went through my CV. So he highlighted the key skills which he could find interesting in me. And then he completely directly went into my projects. So basically in the projects, I have mentioned 3 to 4 projects, which I have done in Ivy and also from my side, from my own to optimize it. So there I have, as I mentioned, like what are the different kinds of machine algorithms I have used, what is the different kinds of accuracy assessment I have used, why I have used this kind of accuracy assessment, why this model was working well. So these were the few of the questions which he was really key interested in, and he asked me on those grounds, and it went quite smoothly.
Let's be a little specific about that particular project that you spoke about. You remember some of the questions that were asked?
Yeah, so basically, first question which was shooted at me was like, what are the different kinds of machine algorithms you have used? So there I have clearly mentioned that I have used linear regression and random forest. Then he asked me like in linear regression,
In that particular
like,
project?
yeah, in that particular project. So I have basically mentioned 2 to 3 projects. One was from supervised regression problem, and then supervised classification problem, then one unsupervised classification problem, and one SQL project as well.
All right.
So in supervised, I have categorized so that I could show the different domains which I have worked on. So I have categorized them out. In supervised regression problem, like they have asked what is linear regression, what is OLS, what is different kind of like parameters which we use for the accuracy assessment. Then he was asked that why random forest is giving like good result than linear regression. So these were a few of the questions. On the similar grounds, he also asked me for the classification problem, like what is confusion matrix?
Okay.
What are different parameters in the confusion matrix? And so on. Like also same that logistic regression, do you have idea about logistic regression and how accuracy assessment is done? So these are the few basic questions. He didn't ask in too deep, but these were a few of the basic questions which he asked me on machine learning.
Their question, based on what you're saying, it looks like they were more focused on the outcomes of the models more than the algorithms of the models. Is that what you're saying?
Not really, but that's an important aspect because the accuracy assessment was an important aspect. But more than that, they wanted to see, I think, like if I'm clear about how the accuracy assessment is done for various kind of projects. Like in classification, we do this kind of why we do this kind of assessment. So I think that's what I.
Let me ask you one question. I have seen, and tell me if tell me if this kind of a approach was taken or not. A lot of times the recruiters are interested in seeing for the same problem statement, have you used multiple models or not?
Exactly. Right.
So in your project, did they ask you about that?
Since I have already employed, I was, as far as I'm concerned, I did only 2 to 3 models I have used in my problem. For example, in regression problem, I have used linear regression and random forest. So yeah, this definitely helps because this shows that you know different kind of models and you can apply different models on the same data set, which shows your capability. So definitely this is a very important factor. On top of that, we should also understand very clearly, like when to use what kind of model and why we are using this kind of model and why it's giving us good result. So yes, applying different models on the same data set is something we should really focus on, and it's really helpful.
Very, very good. Was there any other round after the technical round?
And after that, we had an HR round, final round, which is an HR round.
What kind of questions were asked in the HR round?
HR round was quite simple. He was really cool with me, and he was like, "Ask, introduce yourself." And then he directly went like he asked me a question that why you want to join Axtria. It's a new company firm, and why you would like to join Axtria. Then where do you see yourself after 3 to 5 years? And a very, very interesting question, which I probably haven't heard much of an interview, is that, like, he asked me that if I say your friend, how many friends do you have? First of all, he asked me how many friends do I have. So I said that, sir, in friends, what do you mean? Is it with close friend or generous friend? So he asked me, as per your definition, justify friends. So I said that, yeah, friend is like this kind of thing. How many friends you have? And then the final question came up is, if I say Parthiva's friend, then what are the different kinds of characteristics or the things which his friend should have? So this question was really good one, which I felt like he was trying to, the interviewer was really trying to communicate and see my character as well on it, which was a really good round. And then finally he asked me like, if you got the job, what would you do with your first salary? As a question was the question, and this was a simple question. It was taken in a hurry because within the time limit. So these were the basic 4 to 5 questions.
Um, want to understand, in the technical round, looked like you had a decent enough technical round, right? I mean, it was not a just a basic round. They went into the course, they went into the project details, they went
Yeah,
accuracy model, they went into multiple model comparisons, and all of that. They actually got into that, all of it as well, right? Did they ask you anything about Python as well, or any programming part? Did you have any programming round as well?
no, as a coding part, there was no coding part in this company. But all they asked is about the basic syntax and all in the written round which were used, like data types and all few syntaxes. Because like in the written round itself, there were big codes were given. We have to give the output, like what will be the output. These kind of questions were there. But as a hard coding, there was no coding round specifically.
Parthivo, I understand that you came with a non-coding background, right? And
Yes, sir.
your this ISA deep dive in data science and deep learning program was what, less than 7 months, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how did you cope up? I mean, did you find it difficult to learn, with a non-coding background? I would.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. To be honest, like what's important, what I felt is that having a good, strong base is something very important. Like what I found the most important part in IB was that the things are taught from the scratch. Because my first course in IB was SQL with you only. So SQL is definitely one. Is it not a coding language, but it's something which gave me confidence that yes, I can work on this kind of things. The way you taught us, like it was really astonishing, sir. And then after that, also when I switched to R or Python, since the subjects were taught very from the really from the scratch, so I did not find much of a problem. But yeah, but the thing also remains is that after studying in the class, it's on our duty that we should do the assignments, we should work on the projects or whatever the cases are being given, we should do it without with giving our full attention. Since teaching on the class is something else, but trying from our end and doing some other projects and all helps a lot. So we need to give our focus on it as well and impart.
So, what kind of learning strategy did you use? Because to be able to transition your career in less than 7 8 months is incredible, right? So what kind of learning strategy did you use? And I also understand that you were also a master's student in your college, right?
Yeah.
What kind of learning style? I mean, how many hours did you dedicate to this program? How did you manage those assignments? Because I know that we keep our students very very busy with a lot of cases, a lot of projects. So how did you manage that?
As said, sir, these are the months from where I joined IB was something I focused completely that this is the point or the time of my life which I need to devote.
Okay.
So I was completely focused in it, more importantly, like when what happened is that our classes used to be in the evening half. So what I used to do is, since I also had to continue my masters and other program as well, so I used to divide my time slot. In the first half, in the morning half, when I wake up, I used to work on my master's project since it required me to have meeting with my teachers or with my colleagues and all. So in the morning half, I used to give for my masters. In the second half or in the late afternoon, from the afternoon, I used to start with whatever was being taught in the IB. In evening, we used to have our class. I used to take 1 or 2 hour break, and then again I used to continue on that day. For example, if today is Thursday, on that day, whatever I will be having the class, I used to revise on the later half. That I will revise whatever has been taught, what are the different kinds of question. I will analyze those question on that day. And on the second day, I used to wake up, I will do my master's work, and after that, I would go through this question completely deep, because since I have already revised in the morning, so I would assess myself that how much I have really understood, and I used to do solve that assignment or the problems, which gave me self-confidence that yes, I am able to do. At the same time, I am keeping myself busy as well. So
How many hours did you dedicate to to the content of this program per week, on an average?
uh, on an average per day, I used to, like, apart from the classes, 3 to 4 hours I had to give.
Per
Three
day.
hours. Yeah, per day. Per day I have to give 3 to 4 hours
That's
at
incredible.
least.
So, that's incredible. So 20 to 25, 26 hours in a week, you would easily be contributing to it.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Because behind the mind, I always like thought that this is a point of time, like I need to give myself in. Since I was, as already mentioned, I'm from a non-coding background, so I have to give some effort. But luckily, the course went so smoothly that the effort reduced to some extent, which I was thinking to be very hard, and eventually it turned out to be really
You
great.
seem to have enjoyed the program, and that's what I always keep telling. I always keep telling my learners that if you enjoy the program, it would look like a video game. You're reaching your milestone. That's how we have structured the program, with small cases, small assignments, small projects. So you keep reaching those milestones just like a video game. I also understand, Parthiva, one of the very important things that you're saying is that you were very, very consistent. Would you regard your learning journey to be extremely consistent, or did you take a lot of gaps in between, or uh, so how did you do it?
It was consistent, like from the first of all, my educational background has been a steady pace. Like I have been always in the top 1 to 5% of my class, and I have been consistent performer with it. And then as far as educational gap is there, only 1 year gap is there after my masters. Sorry, before my masters, I was preparing for the gate examination and competition. So this is the only year gap which I have given.
No, but
Apart
in
from,
this program as well, you were very, very consistent, because at times we
yeah,
see the folks who start, then they take a lot of break, then they take multiple breaks, and that's when the learning momentum goes. But I believe that you finished off in the same momentum, right?
yeah. The courses were quite like they used to happen one after another. But as said, we need to be really consistent. See, because once we have a break, then the momentum somehow falls down, and then it's really hard to catch it up on. So it's need to be really focused. It should be consistent, and more importantly, the assignments which were given were really something which is a brainstorming kind of thing. If we solve this kind of small assignments, they make our foundation really good. And I think this is something which the students or someone should really focus on and work on.
Tell me one thing, Parthivo, with some closing tips for the current students. If somebody comes to you, asks for suggestion, Parthivo, how should they take this program, or what kind of strategy should they follow to excel in this kind of a program? What would you recommend, Parthivo?
Basically, I would say is that there are lots of things, to be honest, in a data science field. For example, starting with a coding and all things, there are like cloud computing, big data, and lots of things are there. But as a fresher, if we say as a beginning level, we should really focus on few of the basic fundamentals which we should be aware about. Like there are many of my juniors who are still asking me that I am doing Java, I am doing C++, I am doing big data. So what should I do next? I said that are your Python and SQL fundamentally clear? Because the company doesn't expect you to do everything. They will first, as a fresher, will judge you on the basics ground, that they will groom you from the very initial level. So I would recommend that the students first should go with the SQL or Python, this small kind of things. Then they should have good knowledge about Excel and one visualization tool, probably Tableau or Power BI. These are the 3 to 4 tools which one should be really aware about, and they should have a good command about. And as far as the things are concerned, one should be consistent and should work with different case studies, which is a very important aspect or the parameter which I think case studies or the project, they should keep on working with those kind of things as well.
Very good. Very good. So Parthivo, one last question. You were part of our ISA batch, income sharing agreement batch. It's a special batch. We take risk on our students. How was your experience of this model? That
It was
yeah.
it was really good. The ISA have given me such kind of opportunities. More importantly, in the other sections like building resume, CV, and all. And also the basic reason of this was also that there are many projects or case studies which I've got the exposure to, which have eventually helped in my own interview, which I can clearly see. So it was really a good journey, and having teachers like you, Ishani ma'am, Pranjal sir, Sundaram sir, it was a really good journey, and I'm really lucky to be a part of IB.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot, Parthivo, and all the best and congratulations. And hopefully you will remain in touch with us. Thank you, Parthivo. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.